If you have one of our leather kits like this, and you'd like to turn it into a finished wallet that looks like this, then stick around. Hi, this is Tim with Parcel Artisan Works. I've been doing custom leatherwork since 2016. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to begin to provide products and information for novices so that they can try to do their own leatherworking things. And if you have one of my kits, like this of the Avery Wallet, then this video is exactly for you, and I hope that you find it useful. Now, the cool thing about the Avery kit is that it's actually based off of our Avery Wallet. It's the exact same pattern. And if you wanted to, you could even get a free PDF of the Avery Wallet that you could cut out and make with your own leather and your own time with your own stitching or machine sewn, however you want to do it. This is free on our website. The link is down below. But today, we are going to be talking about the Avery kit itself. So when you get it, it comes with 3 pieces: the body, the strap, and then a combination of 2 needles and the thread. So you don't actually need anything else beyond this to put it together. There are some things that if you have around at the house that it will make it easier to put together, and it may actually make it look a little bit nicer when it's done, but by no means do you need anything else. However, I'm going to show you things now that will help make your life a little bit easier and make a better finished product. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the stuff here so you can see what you need. First thing we're going to start with is a white glue. Don't need anything super fancy. That'll work. Contact cement works even better, but most people have white glue if they don't have contact cement. Thread snippers. You don't have to use thread snippers. If you don't have them, you can use a knife, you can use scissors, anything to cut the thread at the end. If you want to melt the thread, which I'm going to show how to do it both with and without melting the thread, but you would use a lighter. I have a can of water with a wool dauber. You don't have to use a wool dauber. You can use a piece of rag, you can use a cotton ball, something, but you just need some water and some way to get water onto the wallet edges when you're done. Sandpaper. This is 220 grit. I wouldn't go any coarser than 120. 120 is a pretty good starting point. 400 would be good for finishing, but for this one, 220 is probably fine. And then the last thing that we're going to grab is a hardcover book. The idea being that if you don't have a stitching pony like I'm going to use, you can open the book up and you can set the wallet in between the pages. Just make sure you don't have any glue so you don't ruin a good book. And then you just push it closed and hold that book closed between your legs, and it'll work like a stitching pony. All right, so before we get too far into this, I want to show a little bit of how this is set up, just so we're all on the same page going forward. When you get it, like I said, this is what it looks like. It already comes pre-punched with all of the holes, and there are actually 2 little marks right here that I did with the awl when you got it, and those are what you use to line up the strap. So the strap goes right there. You just put it just underneath those 2 points. If for any reason you don't see the points or I forgot them, if you go 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches down and put the strap, it'll all match up. So the holes here, there's 1 more hole on this section than there is on this section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these up a little bit with the awl, just so when I fold it, you'll understand what's going on. So I'm going to turn it over, and you should be able to see these holes right here. When this is all put together, you fold the front piece over onto the back, and you just go to the bottom of those holes. So I think you can see that there, where I fold it over, here's the top of the leather, and then here's the bottom of the hole. So that's how this actually goes. When we stitch it, we're going to put a stitch over the top of this and hold it down onto the back. If you glue it, line it up perfectly, or if you miss this and you glue it down onto the top hole, it's not a huge deal. It'll just be a little bit off at the bottom. It's okay. Don't worry about that if that happens. However, this is how you want to try to do it. So at this point, I'm actually going to use a little bit of white glue. Again, you don't have to do this, but it will make it all much, much easier. I'm going to put a small bead of white glue I don't have to do it on the entire section here. I'm just gonna pick one side, either glue it along the back or glue it along the front, between the holes and the outside of the leather, because all we need to do is stick this little outside piece together on the front and the back. So before I do that, I'm gonna fold this over. I'm gonna line it up with those holes, just like we did, where you have the holes up above the top. And I'm gonna push this down and really try to crease this, because I don't want this, I want this to try to stay flat. Because the glue, white glue works good, but it is no contact cement, and it will start to pull up if it gets the opportunity to. There, that's better. All right, so now I'm gonna open this up. I'm gonna put a very, very small bead of glue. There. And there. It's not a huge deal if you get a little bit on the edge. Don't worry about that too much. I'm gonna try to even this out a little bit. If it goes over the edge and spills out, that's all right. You can just wipe it up with a piece of paper towel. When we go to burnish this, we can sand some of that glue off of the edge, so it's not a huge deal. All right, so we've got that. I'm gonna push it over. I'm gonna line it up at the top first. Just do one side. And I'm going to line it up. Again, get it just below that first hole in the back. And I'm gonna try to line up the side and get it as even as possible. Because the more even that this goes, the less sanding or anything we have afterwards. And it will look nicer. So again, I'm going to start at the top, just underneath that top hole on the back. Put it right there. Line it up down the side as best I can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Good enough is good enough. Hold it there for a few seconds. Okay, and that's, in here you can see it's starting to pull away already. Contact cement doesn't do that, the white glue does. You can really try to pinch it and it will help, but it's not going to make it perfect. That's okay, it's not the point of the kit. The kit is just to make something really cool that you can do at home. And realistically, if this just holds it long enough to stitch, it's a win. I wouldn't worry about it. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is put glue on the outside of the strap. Again, don't need a ton. A little bit goes a long ways. There's that. It's mostly just to hold it there. And again, so okay, right there is an all point, and there is a point. So I'm going to go ahead and put this just underneath those two marks on either side. There's that. Push it down, hold it there for a second. Now, once this is all glued down, do not try to fold the top lid over and check it all out and be like, this is so cool, because you will pop the glue off and you'll have to go back and do the previous stuff. So just so you know, just leave it like this for now. There we go. I think that will ride. So now I'm going to reset the camera. I'm going to get the stitching pony out and I'll show you how to do the really, really simple saddle stitch. All right, so this is a stitching pony. It's very, very nice and very fancy. However, you do not need it, like I said. This is just how I used to clamp stuff when I'm hand stitching. And like I said, if you needed to, you could take a book, a hardcover book, open it up, and you're going to set the wallet. Make sure your glue is clean before you do this. But you can set the book like so, set the wallet in there, and then you can pinch this between your legs in your lap, and that will work well enough to hold this. It's not something I would want to do full time with a book, but it will work for today. So what I'm going to do is I am right-handed, so I'm going to put it so where this face, the front face of the leather, so the front face of the wallet is on my right-handed side. There's a reason for that. I can explain it more in the saddle stitching video later on. However, for this is just what we're gonna go with. You have to trust me on this one. Let's turn this around. Okay, so I'm gonna take the thread and pop the tape off and get the needles. These are John James harness needles. And in the kit, you're going to get 2 pieces of string. They're each about 2 foot long. That's really all you need. So the best way to thread these is to take it and pinch the end of the thread. Make sure you can see that, maybe. I don't know, it's so hard to zoom in and show. But basically, I pinch the end of the thread so there's a little bit of a flat spot, kind of like a flathead screwdriver. It's not very big, but it's enough. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to thread that flat part through the eye of the needle. Pull through, and you do not need to pull much through, a couple inches, maybe 3. So that's 1. Now on the same string, on the other end, we're going to do the same thing with the second needle. So I'm going to pinch the end of it flat, grab this needle, thread it, and then I'm going to pull about 3 inches through. And this is to prep it for saddle stitching, a very, very old-fashioned way of sewing. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting 1 needle through that very top hole. This is the one that's on the back. And I'm just going to push it through, pull it. And what I want to do is take both of these strings, get the needles even, and pull back. So the string on either side is even. Now what I'm going to do, and like I said, if you're left-handed, you can reverse this, but if you're right-handed, follow along with what I'm doing. I'm going to take I'm going to say right-handed is right needle, left-handed is left needle. I'm going to take the right needle, go through the next hole down to the left, and then I'm going to pull the right needle to the back and hold it there in the back. What it's done is the thread has now gone through the hole, but by pulling it back like this, it's leaving a gap in front of that I can now get to. So I'm going to take the left needle, push it through, switch hands, grab that needle, and then I'm just going to pull it taut, not super tight, just taut. And there we go. Now the needles are reversed. This is now right, this is now left. So all we're doing is going through each hole twice, once from either side. So right needle through the next hole down, push it through, pull it, and take it to the back. Left needle through like so, switch hands, and then pull it taut. Right through the back, left in, switch, pull taut. Right through back, left through taut. Might be hard to see in the video because I'm using natural thread on natural leather. I had thought about trying to use a different color combination so you could better see, but this is what the kits come as, so it makes more sense just to have the continuity of this. It's alright though. You do not have to do this near as quick as I have. And if you got confused or lost, feel free to rewind this back and watch the first couple stitches again. I'm just racing to the end. So when I get to the last hole, I'm almost there. Hang on. Okay, so I just went through the last hole from the right, so I'm going to go ahead and go through from the left. I have now made it all the way down to the other end of the wallet. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually work my way backwards 2 stitches. So I'm gonna go to the previous hole now and work up. And I might have to do a little bit of prospecting to get the needle through the hole. That's okay, you might end up sticking it through the other threads and stuff, that's fine. But now I'm gonna pull that needle through, the right needle through, and I'm gonna pull it towards me now. And that's gonna put a hole that you can get the second needle through in front of that thread. So the left goes through, pull it taut. Okay, once again, I'm gonna go to the next hole up this way because we're working backwards. Find the hole, there we go. Pull it through, bring it to the back, push the left needle through where that hole is now, and you'll see it when you get in there. And then pull it taut. That's it. This end, this side is done. Now you can use a knife, you can use scissors. I'm gonna use some thread snippers just because I have them, and I'm gonna cut that thread as close to the wallet as I can. And that is truly all you need to do. You could also clip it with a knife. You can also leave it a little bit long and melt it down with a lighter, but you don't have to do that. This works just fine, especially for the purpose of this, to learn how to make a wallet like this and do all the edging and stuff like that. Figure out a little bit of saddle stitch. This is good enough. Don't worry about it. Okay, so now I'm gonna flip it around. I'm gonna keep the right side on my right hand once again, but now I'm gonna work on the other side. Clamp it down. Okay. Get rid of the cut off pieces of thread. I'm gonna go ahead and thread a new needle. There we go. Okay, that's through. I'm gonna bring the camera closer now so you can get a really good view of what it looks like right up in here as I'm sewing it. That should be a little bit easier to see what I've got going on. So again, I'm gonna start down here at the end. I'm gonna work towards me first, and then once I get to the end, I'll work back the other way. So we go to the bottom hole first, pull it through, and I'm gonna even out the threads. Okay. Now, right needle through, pull it to the back, left needle through, switch off, and pull it taut. Right needle through, left needle through. So the holes that are on this wallet are actually made by something called a lacing chisel. There are kind of three general categories, or 4 general categories of ways that you can put holes in leather. One is a lacing chisel like this, which is actually meant for leather lace, not technically made for thread, although it works in a pinch. Another one is a pricking iron. Pricking irons are kind of an old school traditional way, and the original intention of a pricking iron is that you would more or less just mark where the holes go, and then you would have to hand punch with an awl. Although modern day pricking irons are actually well made and sharp enough that a lot of times you can punch through. Another one is a stitching chisel, which kind of has like a little diamond shaped point, and those I use quite a bit. They're kind of somewhere between the lacing chisel and the pricking iron. And then the last one that they have are like hole punches. So instead of a slot like this, or a little slash like a diagonal cut for a pricking iron or a diamond chisel, it actually punches little teeny tiny holes. And those are very popular because those holes are easy to thread needles through. The reason I chose lacing chisels like this is because so long as you get your glue, your edges sealed up and pretty well flush, you shouldn't have a whole lot of problem finding the holes on either side. They're generously sized so that you don't have to be perfect. That's why I did the lacing chisels and not a pricking iron or something else. Okay, I've made it to the end. I'm going to work back 2 stitches now. So find the hole, go through. There we go. Okay, so there's one. That's 1 whole back stitch. Take the next hole and do the same thing. Pull it through and bring it back to me. I can see a little bit of daylight where that string went through. There we go. So these 2 are done. Pull the needles off. And now I'm going to trim the back one down flush, but I'm going to leave the front one a little bit long, just so you can see if you wanted to melt the ends of the string, this is how you would do it. So you cut it a little bit long. You know, there's maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch of string right there. I'm going to pull it back just a little bit so I can actually get it with the lighter. And then you just take a flame, melt it back down towards the leather, let it set for a second, and then push it down. That's how you do that. You could do it on all of them, but you don't need to. Some people are fanatical about it, some people aren't. There's that. So now I'm going to leave this clamped in here because I know that the angle and stuff is, you guys can see this. I'm going to change it a little bit, but I'm going to show how to finish these edges to get them smoothed up and prepped so you can burnish them. Okay, so here we are looking at the side of the wallet. You can actually see where the glue popped out a little bit. If you wanted to, you could put a little more glue in there or just leave it open. It doesn't really matter. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cup of water. And like I said, I have a wool dauber in here, but you do not need it. The whole idea is just to get some water on that edge. That's all I'm doing. Not a ton, just a little bit to get it damp. And I'm going to take some sandpaper. Like I said, this is 220 grit, but you can start with a little bit coarser, like a 120. You can go up to like a 400 or a 600. But all I'm going to do is gently sand that back and forth. And what will happen is the fibers of the leather will start to lay down and get smooth. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but all that rough stuff is now laid down. So that is all we need to do for that part. So I'm going to clamp a little bit firmer. There's that. It's smooth enough for me. I'm happy. So I'm going to take a little bit more water. Just quickly run a dab over it. And then I'm going to take my nasty old cotton rag. You can also use like denim or heavy duty like a flannel shirt. But I'm just going to take this fabric and rub it briskly over that recently sanded and wet leather. Damp, not wet. If you get it too wet, it won't burnish right. It'll just kind of squish into mush. And you don't want that. There we go. That part has been burnished. So we're going to flip it around, do it the other side, and then we can actually go around and do this entire thing. It's a little bit harder on these edges because of how thin the fabric is, or how thin the leather is rather. But you don't have to sand this part. All you have to do is get it wet, just like so, and then kind of hold it with your fingers just to support it a little bit. And then when you rub the fabric over it, it's going to shift around and move a little bit and stuff. You don't have to push super hard, but it's enough to allow the friction and stuff to smooth the fibers down. So now turn it again. We'll do the top. If you have some beeswax at home, you could, once you finish burnishing these edges, you could rub a little bit of beeswax on them and then burnish them again. And it will make an even glossier, smoother, good looking edge. Eventually, the burnishing will probably break down and it doesn't necessarily rub off of the leather. but the burnish will start to break apart and the fibers will open back up, but the beeswax will help to postpone that. But that's also part of patina, so that might not be what you want to do. All right, last time, I'm gonna take this dauber, put it across. I'm gonna sand this. Like I said, I'm just trying to sand it smooth. I can see a little bit of glue that bubbled up, so I'm gonna try to sand that glue off too if I can. Again, don't chase perfection. Just try to get it good enough. Once again, a little bit more water. And then we rub it smooth. If you really wanted to get cool about it, you can actually get the wallet itself wet on the outside, and you can actually get it a little bit damp and rub it with the rag, and it'll shine that up too. And because this is natural leather, you can also leave it, don't do anything with the burnish on the surface, but you can also dye this with leather dyes and whatnot. So if you wanted to make your own special color and stuff, or dye it ahead of time and then put it together and assemble it, you could absolutely do that too. And there we have it. You have successfully finished your very own Avery Wallet Kit, just like we make in shop. Just a little bit different. I hope this has been fun and educational for you. If you have any questions about how to put this together or anything else in regards to the wallet or the kit, please just put it down in the comments below. I'd be happy to try to answer as many of them as I can. And beyond that, if you'd like to see more content from what I do, make sure to subscribe, give a follow, hit a like, do a comment, whatever. Tell me if you liked it or you didn't like it, what your worst or best part about the whole build was. And with that, with the Midwest goodbye, we say, well, I suppose. Take care, guys.